Hi everyone, I hope you're having a great day. This is Mark Damon, Director of Personnel. In this video, I'll be sharing out recommendations that were provided by the New Jersey Educator Evaluation Review Task Force that was submitted to Governor Murphy on September 30th. As you may not have time to read the entire 40-page document, I'm condensing it for you into this much shorter overview. If you do want to read the entire document, as I will not be covering all the nuts and bolts, you can read the report in its entirety on MTPS Weekly. As you know, this year there was a pause placed on SGOs for all tenured staff who had a previous SGO score. This was done so the New Jersey Educator Evaluation Review Task Force that was commissioned by the governor could review the Teach NJ and Achieve NJ laws and regulations to determine and advise the governor of any unintentional consequences of its implementation and to make recommendations moving forward. Members of the task force included representatives from all areas of education of New Jersey, including superintendents, NJEA, NJPSA, the American Federation for Teachers, NJASA, NJSBA, senators, representatives, and the Secretary of the New Jersey Department of Education. The initial charge was to conduct a comprehensive review of the Teacher Effectiveness and Accountability for Children of New Jersey. We know it as Teach NJ Act, enacted in 2012, and the subsequent regulatory code, which we call Achieve NJ. In this presentation, I'm simply going to point out the key findings and recommendations of this committee. Before I get into the recommendations, let's review the rationales that supported the recommendations being made. Since Teach NJ and Achieve NJ were put in place back in 2012, we have gone through 6 commissioners of education, statewide pushback against standardized PARCC assessments, and most disruptively, the COVID-19 pandemic. Yet the evaluation system and policies have remained largely unchanged. Elements of the current evaluation process are universally disliked by all categories of educators and has formed a chasm between intention and implementation. The task of connecting statute to regulation has created a paper chase process that silos educators' efforts to make data-driven decisions. Evaluations have become time-consuming and compliance-oriented, which has undermined their meaningfulness. The task force cites an educational thought leader's quote, Pedro Noguero, stating, "Assessment is an essential part of education because you have to know what kids are learning. So you have to assess their growth and their progress, but assessments should be used for that purpose and to diagnose learning needs, not to rank people, which is what we're doing now." The task force's recommendations are provided by focusing on 3 main themes: pursue changes to statute, pursue changes to regulation, and pursue clarification to existing legislation and regulation through a series of packages by the New Jersey Department of Education through guidance. Again, I'm providing you an overview, but more detailed and specific recommendations can be found in the final report that is available on MTPS Weekly. Theme 1, pursuing changes to statute. PDPs and SGOs are mandates, the only way to fulfill the statutory requirement for multiple objective measures of student learning for teachers of non-tested subject areas and grades. In other words, kindergarten, first, second grade, related arts, they don't get SGP scores, so the only way that they can fulfill the multiple measures of student learning is through SGOs and teacher evaluation, and then their PDP is required as well. But the committee feels that there's potential redundancy. The task force believes that if we could integrate and streamline and reduce the requirements from creating 4 goals annually, 2 SGOs and 2 PDP goals, and we just have 2 goals that are integrated, we can cut back a significant amount of work. An additional recommendation under Theme 1 is the future reexamination of the SGP scores that teachers get. Specifically, the committee states, while SGPs are arguably flawed, the task force does not currently recommend addressing the SGP until the statute is opened in its entirety. However, while problematic, the actual impact of SGPs is insignificant compared to the significant concerns detailed throughout this report with SGOs. In other words, what they're referring to is the fact that SGP scores, when Teach NJ first came out, constituted a very large percentage of teacher evaluation scores, but there was significant pushback. So the value of the SGP score went down significantly, down to 5%. So what they're saying is, even though we don't believe SGPs are reliable and valuable and that we need them to go away, they only make up 5% of a teacher's evaluation. SGOs, however, have grown in terms of the magnitude in which they impact teacher evaluation. That is where we're going to focus our report on. So they're not discounting the issues with the SGPs. They're just saying right now it's not the most significant concern. Moving on to theme number 2, pursuing changes to regulation. As defined by the Administrative Code, an observation means, and I quote, a method of collecting data on the performance of a teaching staff member's assigned duties and responsibilities. Tenured teachers must be observed twice annually, and if a tenured teacher earns a highly effective rating, there is potential in code that they could be eligible for alternative observation practices as approved by the commissioner. However, with this in mind, the task force believes that the New Jersey Department of Education should approve and publish a bank of commissioner-approved activities and practices and broaden that eligibility not only to highly effective educators, but also to effective educators, so that effective and highly effective educators could have 2 observations completed on them, or they could do some type of alternative evaluation. It could be a case study, it could be a mentoring. They would allow a reflective practice protocol. There are a bunch of different options, but what the report is requesting is for the commissioner to release and publish a bank of options that are available to both effective and highly effective teachers. The task force did provide some additional examples, such as multi-tiered system of supports or the intervention and referral services, because what they're looking at is consolidating. We already have INRS or MTSS. Why not use them as alternative ways of measuring growth for teachers instead of observations? And making the recommendation, the committee is saying that we use these existing structures rather than creating new structures, and that these structures are already designed to provide support and professional development to teachers in their efforts to meet all student needs. And isn't that what we want? So they're suggesting that we move in this direction where we maximize and capitalize things that we already have in place, rather than creating these additional paperwork nightmares that everybody goes through each year. Theme 3 umbrellas the recommendations to continue engaging practitioners in the implementation of upcoming timelines. The task force is encouraging the DOE to enhance guidance, technical assistance, clarification, creating this bank of strategies, and drafts of waivers and examples of best practices, get ready for this, by March of 2025, and they want this rolled out for the next school year, 2025-2026. Additionally, they want clarification of the misnomer in the field that evaluations must only occur within a classroom setting. As allowed under regulatory definition, educator evaluations should be allowed in a multitude of settings outside the classroom environment, as long as it falls within the professional performance, job description, and in the standards. The next recommendation in regards to the committee's proposal is that they open up for future consideration the whole 4-point system for teachers. They recommend that members of the legislature reconsider the mandate for 4 defined annual rating categories for teachers, principals, assistant principals, and vice principals. We have an ineffective, partially effective, effective, and highly effective. And in theory, the presence of a highly effective rating should serve as a motivator for excellence, but in reality, the debates that ensue over ratings and tenth of a point differences, they misdirect valuable post-observation conference discussions, summative conferences, and professional growth opportunities, and it heads more towards scoring conversations instead of professional growth, and it undermines the purpose of the evaluation process. Another approach is to numerically value effective and highly effective ratings the same, allowing highly effective to be a designation to serve as work that was done above and beyond, but without sustaining a point value that impedes conversations about growth. As the task force report concludes, they acknowledge it may not be feasible for such drastic change to occur for next school year, but they say if that proves true, they recommend putting a statutory pause on SGOs until a new regulatory framework is implemented. And during that time, they want a pilot group of no fewer than a dozen school districts to pilot all of these new protocols that are recommendations from the task force. So in summary of this summary, there have been several unintended consequences of the implementation of TeachNJ, and over the last decade, new research along with changes in our educational landscape have highlighted the need for swift action to recalibrate our evaluation process to better align with professional development and meeting the needs of our students. While there are several strengths that came out of TeachNJ and AchieveNJ, the areas for revision are critical. Streamlining SGOs and PDPs, eliminating SGPs, providing more flexibility in evaluations, and revisiting the 4-point rating system are all included as recommendations moving forward. I hope this overview provided valuable information in a succinct manner. I'm interested in your thoughts and recommendations regarding this video, as I feel there will be times in the future when important information needs to be shared. Please feel free to reach out to me and let me know if this way of communication is respectful of your time, but still getting you quality information. Thanks and have a wonderful day.